Hello to my dedicated listeners. Last week during the Fleeting Moments episode and chat with Marie, you may have noticed an unintentional 75-second segment where there was no audio around the 46-minute mark. This was an error in the editing process. Due to audio issues on my end while recording, I made a handful of adjustments to the final product, only to overlook the gap in audio. The error has been corrected, and I sure hope to avoid that issue going forward. I hope you enjoy today's episode. You are listening to It's Later Than You Think. Hello, everyone. What is going on? Welcome back to another episode. Glad you're here. Today, we're switching back to a solo pod episode. I am here to discuss what's real, what's not in fitness, a little bit of a health and wellness 101 for you. Back in 2010, I weighed right around 200 pounds, which is the heaviest that I've been in my life. At the time, I didn't know anything about health and wellness, even while I was in my mid-20s. I would take the occasional jog for a few miles, but I didn't have any idea about what my lack of exercise and my diet was doing to my body. After looking in the mirror one day, I thought to myself, well, this isn't good. In a story that would take longer to explain than necessary, I was able to knock off 40 pounds and shed unwanted fat. In the 15 years since, I've been able to maintain a weight between 145 and 165, never going anywhere near where I was in 2010. I've gained muscle, I've lost fat. I've lost muscle, I've gained fat. And when I felt like I'd lost my way, I've been able to find my way back with a few tweaks and changes to my diet and exercise. While I do not have a degree in medicine or in exercise science, I did practice as a nationally certified personal trainer and health coach years ago, and I've learned a thing or two about fitness for others to feel comfortable coming to me for advice. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do know some stuff. The trouble today is that there is so much information out there. Social media influencers who are looking to get as many followers as possible, to get as many likes, to stir up controversy, and make money for themselves, all while spewing out nonsense. So how does one go about knowing who to trust? What should I focus on to make sure I am doing my best to live a healthy life? For starters, if you're going to follow an influencer or someone along those lines, you should ask yourself if you know their credentials. Second, it's a good idea to see if what they are saying is backed by any science. And third, is what they are telling you have any merit? Does it seem kind of extreme? You may want to question what their sole purpose for sharing this information. If it's clickbait or just to get some more eyes on their account. Lastly, does this person advertise a particular supplement and tell you it's the best out there? I don't want to rain on your supplement parade, but almost all supplements in regards to fat burners, bulking powders, BCAAs are garbage. I do want to stress that I am not talking about those diet supplements such as fish oil, calcium, probiotics, things of that nature. As far as the fitness field goes, the only ones I would recommend are protein powders and creatine, which have been proven to be useful, but not always necessary. It's a supplement. I have been taking protein powder for many, many years, and it helps me make sure I get adequate amount of protein in my diet, especially when active with resistance training. Creatine, which I've also used in the past, is also shown to be safe when used as prescribed. So in regards to diet and exercise, what's the most important? If we look at a short list of cardio, resistance training, nutrition, and mental aspect, which one of those is the most important? The answer is all of them. But of course, I'm not going to leave you just with that. It really does depend on what your goal is. However, I would say first and foremost is the mental aspect. You have to want to put the effort in. When things are not going well, it's keeping a positive attitude. It's knowing that you have to take things one day at a time. When things are going well, it's the mental aspect of not letting yourself slip and get back into bad habits. Remember, it takes roughly 3 weeks to form a good habit, but it only takes a couple days to fall out of that habit. Second, I'd say nutrition. You've heard this before, but you can't out-exercise a bad diet. Now, there are numerous quote-unquote diets out there, but at the end of the day, they all actually work the same as far as losing weight goes. You simply have to be in a caloric deficit. You might hear someone online preaching that keto is better than paleo, or Weight Watchers is better than intermittent fasting. But as I'm about to share, that's not how it works. One of the health and fitness gurus that I follow, Tom Venuto, a former all-natural bodybuilder, competitor, and current fitness writer with a degree in exercise science, shared a chart to his social media titled, "How Popular Diets Work for Weight Loss." It's a great resource to share with someone when they are struggling with what diet they should go on. I now would like to read this chart to you. All right, so again, the title is How Popular Diets Work for Weight Loss. You've got 3 columns. One is titled Diet Name. The middle is Why People Think It Works. And then the last one is How It Really Works. So I'm going to read each of the rows to you. You've got keto. So why people think it works? Cutting carbs so low that you reach ketosis puts you into fat burning mode. How it really works? It creates a calorie deficit. Low carb. This lowers insulin levels, which stops fat storage and allows fat to be released from cells. How it really works? It creates a calorie deficit. Low fat. Dietary fat gets stored as body fat. Eating less fat leads to lower body fat. It actually creates a calorie deficit. Intermittent fasting. Why people think it works? Releases growth hormone, improves insulin sensitivity, increases metabolism. Actually just creates a calorie deficit. Paleo. Modern processed foods turn to fat. Eating foods our ancestors ate burns fat. This creates a calorie deficit. Gluten-free, wheat-free. Wheat and gluten-containing foods convert to body fat more easily. This creates a calorie deficit. Weight Watchers. Using a point system leads to guaranteed fat loss. How it really works? It creates a calorie deficit. Nutrisystem. Eating special prepackaged meals increases fat loss. It creates a calorie deficit. And last one I'll share with you, meal replacement shakes. Why people think it works? Special supplemental drinks burn more fat. And how it really works, it creates a calorie deficit. So the reason, again, sharing all that is when you burn more calories than you consume, that is what creates the deficit, and which is why all these diets can work in their own way. I am not saying that any of those I listed are lame and you shouldn't be following those. No, do what works for you. However, at the end of the day, the reason that they work is because you have a difference between calories that you have eaten versus calories that you have burned, whether it's from cutting back on calories you're consuming or that increasing your exercise output as well. One more thing I'd like to share in regards to nutrition. Now, let's say you have decided to eat as healthy as possible. You're doing all home-cooked meals. You're doing your meal preps on the weekend. You got everything laid out. You might have some snacks here and there, some desserts, all good. But you're working out and you're trying so hard to bump that scale, to have those numbers go down. And it's just not working. Now, there is a multitude of reasons possibly why. It could be hormonal, it could be metabolism, just a variety of different ways. But what I want to share is it also could be that you're not quite understanding the amount of food that you're eating. One thing I would highly challenge each and every one of you, even if your goal is not to lose weight, or to put on weight to build muscle. Give this a try for 1 week. Measure out each of your meals. Get a food scale. Look at any of those boxed items you're cooking with as far as what the serving size is, the grams or the ounces, the cups, whatever it is. Get a tracker online and keep track of how many calories you're actually consuming in a day. Do that for 5 days or 7 days. You might be amazed at either how much you eat or even how little. So give it a try. It's not as hard as it seems. I actually did this the whole month of January to start the year. Once you get into it and you're tracking your meals, especially if you have a fitness tracker or nutrition tracker that lets you save meals, then you can just kind of plug and play. And it really takes a extra minute or two here and there. Not that bad. At the top of the podcast, I did mention this is going to be a kind of a brief 101 overview. So we're going to go right into the next area, which is the actual exercise. And that is resistance training and cardio. And I'm going to say no particular order. Although my personal belief that one is greater than the other as far as aging, longevity, and health span goes. Now, cardio is obviously very important for heart health. Aerobic exercise, whether it's walking, running, swimming, biking, skiing, skating, etc., are all great for you. Whether you do high-intense interval training, which is a great way to get your heart rate up, burn fat in a shorter amount of time, or you do traditional steady-state cardio, you're doing yourself a favor by exercising and working your heart and burning calories while you exercise. Resistance training, on the other hand, also known as weight training, is a way to build muscle, increase strength, burn fat, reduce pain and stiffness, to name a few. While you may not burn as many calories during a weightlifting session, you end up continuing to burn calories after your workout as your muscles recover. As you get older, you naturally get weaker, and that's where the importance of resistance training comes in. Maintaining muscle into our twilight years provides such an advantage, particularly with strength, balance, and bone density. So me personally, if I had to choose between resistance training and cardio, I would say the resistance training is slightly more advantageous than cardio, but I'm also not discounting cardio. Okay? It's still very good for you, important to do. Now, there are plenty other of ways to get your fitness in that I'm not going to be talking on here, whether that's yoga, whether that's kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. If you would like to come on the podcast and talk about your favorite forms of exercise, I welcome you to reach out, and I'd be happy to have you on as a guest. In conclusion, each of the 4 areas discussed is important on their own, but they also tie in nicely. While garbage advice is abundant out there in terms of the health and wellness industry, if you stick with the basics of eating well, exercising regularly, and have your mental game on point, including your self-efficacy, then you'll hopefully be on the right path. Your overall health and wellness should fall into the needs category of the wants and needs, because you only have one body to get right. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, give us a rating, share on your socials, tell your friends, and join us again next week. Until then, be well.